Evening, Gooners, Arsenal fans everywhere online, and look, wow, what a day! You're watching in the North Bank the big Sunday show, and Arsenal another 3 points. And
Mm.
in the UK, it's been a brilliant weekend. Obviously, the coronation. Yeah, we've had a little kind of social gathering, very merry, and look, the sun was shining, and I had I had the match on my iPad in the glaring sun, and oh, 2-0 Arsenal, tough game, do or die, we won, lads. Welcome. So, yeah, look, Des, the enforcer, joining me, along with Richard and a debutante, a new signing, uh,
Ha,
Glenwyn, Guna Matter,
100 million.
£100 million. Yeah,
100 million rand. That's about 15 quid.
yeah, that's it. That's happy hour. So, look, brilliant to see you guys, and yeah, look, mate, I think these shows get harder and harder to plan, just from going from one game to another, and I'm trying to get like a preview between the games, and when you've got this kind of like mad kind of like couple of weekends where we've had bank holidays, it's like everything just molds into one. Um, Football is just brilliant. I love it. I love it. What about you guys? Huh?
Yeah, I always love it when it's on top, game after game. It's no time to think about results or things. You just get on with it.
Yeah,
Absolutely love it. Do you know what? Arsenal was like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get.
he had
I've
to.
nicked, I've nicked that from somewhere. I can't.
Yeah,
I've nicked it from somewhere. You're sounding a bit emotional there, Paul. Are you all right?
well, yeah. Well, apart from having a fair few of a case of of Stella Artois, I feel enjoyable. I pictured this, and I've
What's happening?
earmarked this game as being do or die for Arsenal this season. That doesn't mean that I'm being negative on the side of that we've done poor, we've done bad. Just the fact that
Just bring us
this
including
is
the cable, please.
either season gone or we are keeping it going. And look, lots been talked about, hasn't it, with regards to if we've lost our mojo, if we've bottled it, we've done this, we've done that. But I look at it like this, and I suddenly see the Chelsea game, and obviously we're going to talk about the Chelsea game as well today. But the Chelsea game, this game following up, because believe you or me, this game probably would have taken more precedence over that Chelsea game
Oh yeah, I agree.
for the players, because this was the one that they're earmarking again from like last season. That there is a big kind of mental block on that side, because they were the two disappointments last season, and even the home game, a massive disappointment from the players because of how Newcastle reacted and how they played to the result. Look, it's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those, and we keep the pressure on. This is why I say do or die. Do means that we keep it all going until the final 2, 3 games of the season. We go into this with City having 3 games away from home. with one game at home, and that home game is Chelsea. So our biggest game, or our hardest game, our toughest game on paper would have been this game. We've still got tough games, and it's all about getting our job done, getting 100% points on the board. I said from the last game, we need 5 wins to be absolute certain to put total pressure on City, because their games aren't going to be easy. And you saw even the Leeds game. How could a team, and we talk about Arsenal,
Sorry.
talk about Arsenal being not in there. And you know what I mean? Like again, like you're talking about the Southampton game, you're talking about the West Ham game. But Man City were like in unbelievable control against Leeds. Certainly in that first half. They have the penalty, and it was almost kind of like Arsenal, West Ham, Saka penalty moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And you looked at it, and it was like, yeah, 2-1, could have gone 3-1, game over. Turned out, missed it, and then they went up the other end, scored. Look, Leeds, had they had a bit more about them, or certainly a bit more time in the game, potentially may have done something. But look, Man City showed exactly what they're about, and they killed the game, didn't they? Just like they did at the Emirates. In all honesty, where they were kind of controlling game, they were kind of time wasting in the first half, and then they relied on mistakes from us, didn't they?
Hmm.
Well, look, we're going to go into the 2 games like tonight. So, guys, strap in, and then we'll come back after this little intro. Yeah, lads, the 4 of us, we are discussing. We are discussing football. Um, Glenn, are you? How are you getting on? Are you okay? Are you?
I'm okay. I'm not sure what's wrong. I mean, I never
Well, we
have
can
this
hear you.
issue
We can
when
hear
I.
you and everything.
Yeah,
It's all right.
you're clear as gold.
Is it? But I find that there's a resurgence and a delay from when you guys stuck. But I think it's on my side more. But no, I'm cool. I'm trying to sort it out while I'm
Yeah, no
busy.
bother.
Yeah.
Yeah, no bother. Um, so yeah, look, Richard, we spoke about it yesterday, didn't we? And this is what I say about how quick
Yeah.
these games come around. And yeah, look, late last night we were discussing the game, and yeah, we knew it was going to be a tough game, and there was always my thought that it was going to be really tricky going on from last season. What we, what were your thoughts again with the lineup? Obviously, the coming in, one change.
Yeah. No, the concern for me was Jorginho and the pace and power that Newcastle had in the middle of the field, and that was my only slightly concern. The rest of the team I was happy with, and pretty much picked itself. But given that Party's out of form, I could see why he went with Jorginho in in the middle.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I see loads. Well, I've seen loads of people moaning about Jorginho, and obviously when we signed him, and look, you look at it, and again, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Everyone has that kind of, he's ex Chelsea, he's this, he's that. But there's a player in there, isn't there? There's such a calmness to how he handles the game, certainly in tight situations. And I don't know, Des. What have you thought? Obviously, 2 games in a row now. He's come in. He's played.
Well,
Jorginho, I think he's did very well.
to expand on what you're saying, there's a player in there. There is a player in there, and you've got to remember now he's Arsenal. It doesn't matter that he was Chelsea; he's Arsenal now. And these last 2 games have proved that Jorginho was brought in for a reason. Yeah, it wasn't just we'll just get in. He's actually been brought in for a reason. Do you know what I mean? And he's proven himself as all the players that we've managed to get in January. They're all proving themselves, and that's what you want because that's part of progression and moving forward. You know. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Paul. Jorginho, all right, he plays differently to Partey, but he's meant to. He does a different kind of job. Yeah, and I just think, yeah, I think he's a good player. I rate him. He probably lacks a bit of pace, but he's got a good football head on his shoulders. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think about him anyway.
I think it's testament that when Arteta will buy a player for what he needs, and he's not gonna spend over the odds. He's not gonna kind of break the process. You know what I mean? You've got a value, just like if you're selling a player, you've got a value you want to achieve. You want to get that back, and look. I'm not saying for every Arsenal fan. Obviously, there's negativity, but obviously there's fans obviously say from previous ones where we've had players come in, and it's almost like it's a retirement home to kind of come over to Arsenal or whatever after what they've done at Chelsea. Look at Czech, and you look at Louise, you look at Willian. All these, yeah. You look, you see it, and you can kind of
William Gallas.
yeah, look, but you look at it, that's them. But you suddenly think about it, and you just think, well, it's happened before, but again, is it that bad to really suddenly think, oh, it's just another one? But you suddenly think, well, there's still something about him that makes him still a player that can certainly do something for this group of players. Certainly when they need that little bit of experience. We are craving experience to go alongside the youth that we've got coming through. But Glenn, what's been your assessment over the last couple of games? Obviously Chelsea, and obviously today, just with regards to the team selection. Anything you'd
Yeah,
change?
yeah. I think well, Chelsea midweek game. Pardon me. It was not an informed Chelsea, however. They did push us a little bit, and I think they pushed us more to our form than anything else, because the 4 games prior to that we were so poor. Even though we have drawn 3 and lost 1 against the City, and I think everything started in the Liverpool game. Even though a lot of people and pundits, even Arsenal fans, are saying that we're lucky to have drawn that game, I think we are unlucky to not have win it, because we've obviously given a lot of things away. But in the Chelsea game, I think we've turned it around by the push that Chelsea's given us, because they started the game on the front foot, really. So they've given us the idea of, we can't lose this game. I mean, we went into the game obviously with that thought not to lose it or not to drop points. It's just the fact that Chelsea started better than us in that first 5-10 minutes, gave us the upper hand to say, let's go for it, because after the goal, we moved and we moved on. Jorginho, for me, I think with the bad form of Partey that has not been performing in the last couple of games, I think Jorginho came in the Chelsea game purely just to calm things in the middle because we were too rushing to get goals, to get the performance together, and with his mentality of a very docile manner, is he calm things in the midfield, and everybody around him becomes calm, like the Odegaards, like the Xhakas, and even the guys behind him. And I thought Kivio had a good full debut game against Chelsea, and I thought today was even better. So I think Jorginho brings in a calmness, and the fact that he doesn't have the pace gives him that authority of his calmness in that game. And I mean, Des said earlier on, his pace is putrid, and of course, with against the game, the guys today with their physicality and their intensity in the middle, I thought he was much better than them by just sort of dictating what sort of pace we're going to play with. Today we were under pressure, and I said to you off air that I was in the mall for most of the first half of the game, and I watched on my phone, and a lot of a lot of rival fans said that you're going to bottle today because Newcastle is on form, and I thought, I believed some of the things that was said that we can lose this game because it's a very tough place to go. I mean, now we're the second team this season that beat them at home. But yeah, I thought it was a very, very competitive game. It was an up and down. But Jorginho, again, he dictated the midfield. And I mean, their star player in Bruno Gomes couldn't dictate what he normally has done against other teams because of Jorginho's calmness around the ball. And like, I mean, if you look at Xhaka came into the game, and the fight that the guys had, I thought, Paul, it's a do or die thing, like you said, and every player had that mentality. Even Saka and what's his name, White, they ganged up on Isak, and they fought till the death. And what a game! So yeah, it was a very very good two games performances, 5 goals and 1 goal conceded, opposed to what, seven, 10, no, 11 games. I mean, 11 goals in 4 games that we've conceded. So it's a lot of goals that we've conceded, but also we can make it up now.
Yeah, it was. I looked at certainly that game today, and the the belief that we had as a team, I thought was really good, and it was one that was straight up. We've got to make something happen, and obviously, it was so potentially going to be undone on that first minute, wasn't it? And they hit the post, and it
Sure.
was like you suddenly think, oh no, this what I mean. You're trying to gauge what to do, what you're thinking about the game, but then after a minute, they go and hit the post, and you're just like, oh no, this is
And
going.
that changed. I think that changed the game for them, Paul. I
Yeah,
mean, if that had gone in, then it was a total different game.
If you
yeah,
look
oh
at
no, of
it,
course,
yeah.
they'll be totally up. The crowd will be unbelievable. Even the penalty, I can't.
They came at us hard. You know what I mean?
If you look at that first that Murphy shot, it actually hits. I'm not sure if it's Shaka or Kivio's heel,
Yeah.
and it gets a slight nick off one of the heels, and then it hits the post. So so you get a little bit of fortune there, and it did. We knew first 15 minutes we were going to have to sort of hang in there and ride a storm.
I mean,
Yeah,
they did come at us hard, Paul, in the first 5 minutes. They came at us hard, and it wasn't. We didn't really take hold of the game until Odegaard started taking control of the midfield. You know, but I mean, end of the day, Newcastle, they've got something like us. They've got something to play for, haven't they? You know what I mean? And I've got to say, you've got to show not just because I live there, but you've got to show Newcastle some respect because they actually were playing their game. And we were playing ours, but it took us a while as per usual, it took us a while to get started. But there's a lot of positives today. I mean, a lot of positives, and that's what makes it a better game. I mean, keeping a clean sheet at last.
Yeah.
You know? Things like that, you know?
Yeah, with the clean sheet, theirs is mostly to do with Ramsdale himself, and I thought Ramsdale had a brilliant game. I mean, he had a couple of good saves made. Even Shaw, Fabian Shaw, that was bang on goal. I mean, he had a hand to it.
I mean, look at that. Willock nearly scored, and if it weren't for Xhaka doing that sliding tackle,
Ah,
he would have scored.
Yeah,
He would have
I
scored.
mean,
definitely.
I made proper eye contact with my Spurs fan who was watching the game with me. That was an amazing block, and it was amazing recovery tackle. Otherwise,
You
that
couldn't
would
have
have
told
been
that any better, could you?
it would have been in the net, and then that would have been it, and he would have probably been trying to jump on my back or whatever. But look, at least I pointed out and I said, look, I thought he was immense. I thought he really got stuck in, and look, we gave him a little bit of kind of their own medicine from the first game because
Yeah,
there was a lot of born on frustration. I think being at the Emirates, obviously I was there in that game, like we spoke, Richard,
Yeah.
and the games they were playing with regards to slowing the game down. Obviously, Eddie Howe saying that it wasn't part of his kind of game plan; it was down to the players. Um, did you think Arsenal kind of played up to that, Richard, today, and in the way of going down and kind of just controlling the game
Yeah.
the way they did? Obviously, there was a lot of kind of going down, but
Yeah, we get it. A lot of teams do it to us. They do it to City. They do it to the top teams. But it's to disrupt that rhythm. If you can't get a rhythm going, you're not going to be as threatening. And
yeah,
you needed to take that hostility out from the crowd. You needed to take the sting out of the game, calm it down, not let them get a head of steam up. And it might not. We moan about it, and they'll moan about it today. But all good teams have it in their locker, just to make sure that they stop that opponent dominating. And I was happy with it.
yeah,
There's only one thing that could have been a problem today, Paul, was that Joe Linton and Wilson got in Xhaka's head. And he had to be careful second half.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that was a sign of how well Granite's come on this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Because look, I know there was a time. I think it was a moment where he got involved in a little kind of thing, and I think he then went and kind of just like pushed his hand and like against the player, and then I don't know who it was who then pulled him back and just said, "Right, come on, let's get going." Whether it was Jorginho, just to say, "Come on, just get your head in the game and crack on." But look, if a player doesn't have those emotions, I wouldn't want him to be really playing for Arsenal.
No, I get what you're saying.
There's got to be some fight. There's got to be some kind of emotion in our players to suddenly say, okay, well, we are in a battle. We have to suddenly start going on. And yeah, historically there have been times where he has gone a little bit too far, and whether or not that's naivety or not, we're all human, but we get caught up in things that maybe we shouldn't get caught up in. But look, this year has shown he can be a lot better than what he was, and whether or not that is through proper experience now, obviously he is coming to that tether of his career now, where he's kind of wanting to kind of die down a little bit and not get too involved. But look, he's proven a really useful and proper integral part of this team. To be honest, whenever we see him not playing, he seems to struggle slightly. There's, what's your opinions on Xhaka, just in general?
What, from today's game or from both games?
Today's, yeah, but look.
Today's game, well, to be honest, he took the needle. He did take the needle. He did well. I mean, in the second half, he was chinned by Joe Linton, and Joe Linton. I thought the referee was a big factor with Xhaka today as well, because he wasn't giving out yellow cards until late in the game, and there was some hard tackles going in from both sides. I'm not going to say it's all one sided. There were some hard tackles going in, and Xhaka will back himself. He will, like you say, he's got that passion pull, and if he's got something to say, he'll say it. But he's saying it in a controlled way now, and I thought he carried himself. Not because in the end, I think he got in Wilson's head, and I think he got in Joe Linton's head, and Bruno's head. In the end, I think he actually won the mind games in the end. To be honest with you, and he's still solid as a rock, isn't he? He just doesn't bend or break for anything, does he?
No, I'll say that recovery challenge that he done to kind of get back in, like we spoke about earlier, just like he come in and...
I mean, you couldn't have timed that any better, that one against Willock. And I felt for Willock because he's an ex-Arsenal boy. I mean, for him, it's look at what you could have been part of. Do you know what I mean? But they weren't going to get a ball in the back of the net today because the defence, they were solid. They were absolutely solid. Every ball that came in, we got first ball most of the time. It was the odd. I mean, I think the game changed slightly when Maximan came on, but not enough for them to score. But going back to Xhaka, I just think he is a better player than what he was. I do rate, I rate, and me and you've had chats about Xhaka so many times, mate. He is going to be, if he stays for much longer, he's going to, I don't care what anybody says, he is going to be an Arsenal legend. And yes, you can make mistakes and still get a statue, but he's a solid part of that midfield now. A solid part. If Xhaka's not there, you're a little bit concerned because you're thinking, well, Vieira isn't strong enough. Yeah? Emil Smith-Rowe has hardly got off the bench this season, which is not his fault. Yeah? So if he's not there, you're thinking, hold on, we're a bit weak there. Yeah? Partey, do you know what it is? Partey could have gone missing this season, and I don't think I'd have missed him as much as I would have missed Xhaka. And that's me being absolutely honest with you. I think we would have missed Xhaka more than Partey this season.
I think it's just that obviously the way that Arteta wants to play. When Richard, we've spoke about this, the inverted Zinchenko. It creates a massive void in that kind of that left channel, because obviously if anyone does then kind of break in behind, obviously with Zinchenko tucking in, we need a kind of presence that is kind of there and not really easily bypassed. And yeah, that moment when obviously Xhaka was ill and when Vieira come in, it just didn't look the same kind of player, didn't look the same balance, and it just looked all wrong in it. Kind of the game just seemed to pass him by. I think it was that was the Southampton game, wasn't it? And and you could just tell it just seemed very, I don't know, flat on that side, and there wasn't just a lot kind of going on, and they target it, and we just seemed to kind of crumble on that side. Rich, what on
I've always loved Xhaka, and I've always said, he'll have his brain fart moments, but he's a brilliant player in there. And you've moved him forward, and he's shown it. He's shown maturity. Even when he's got himself a yellow, he's managed to see out the whole game without getting a second. And some of those petulant moments that have resulted in red cards, he's controlled himself a lot better. He's added goals and assists to his game this season. There's still in the odd game there where his brain doesn't work as quick as maybe a Gundogan and Silva, but if you're wanting somebody to go to war with in a game, I'd want him by my side. He doesn't wilt under pressure. He stands up and is counted most in most games. And this season, he's been one of our most consistent performers.
Yeah, agree with that. Yeah, Glenwyn, again. What your feelings on Jack? I know it's been a long talking point, isn't it? With regards to, oh, we need to get a an improvement on him. We need, and like everyone, we do need to. We have to be realistic. We do know we need to get a replacement and an upgrade to Xhaka. But at the minute where we are, and we look at where we are as a team, Xhaka is a big pillar in what we do as a team now.
Yeah.
To get up
Yeah,
to our
no,
next level, we do obviously need an upgrade, but we're dealing with now. We can't worry about whatever happens
tomorrow.
in a couple of
Yeah.
years. What are your thoughts on him? Just obviously you being the debutant. Come on, talk to me.
Xhaka, to me, I've always had my reservations about him, especially with the whole armband saga but he's turned it around. I mean, there's Des on my show last year. Myself and another of a panelist, we had a challenge to say that Xhaka is going to have a bad season, and the opposing obviously said otherwise. And he turned it around. He didn't have he didn't have that much of a bad season last year, and it just improved now this year. So with Xhaka, I mean, we've seen it. I think it was the Southampton game, wasn't it, where he didn't play,
Yeah,
where he was ill in that game, and you could see that he's missed in that midfield because of not just the fact that he plays a more an advanced role, the fact of his leadership. Xhaka is a very vocal person. He's a vocal leader on the pitch, off the pitch, and I think Mikel Arteta has a lot of trust in him to maintain that leadership on the field, and you can see the void when he's not there, and even when he's been subbed off for either Vieira or ESR, you could see the change in the momentum of the game when he was on the pitch. So Xhaka has improved not only by himself, but also he's improved the team spirit. You will see in certain games, besides Zinchenko, Xhaka is very vocal when they huddle together, when there's either a player down or whatnot. He's one of the guys that is very vocal. He's getting them together, and he will direct, and because he's the arm and the voice, the extended to Mikel Arteta on the field. Because yes, Martin Odegaard is the captain per se, but the vocal leadership comes from Xhaka and Zinchenko at most. So Xhaka to me, sorry, is a very important player and factor for our team. Um, yes, he might not be a legend in a lot of fans' eyes. He's not a legend in my eyes yet. He can change that if he obviously stick to what he has learned. He's grown as a person. He's grown as a player, and for the gangster side of him that a couple of seasons before, like Richard mentioned, he would see out a yellow card and not get a second yellow card. Previously, he'd have gone in a challenge knowing he's on a yellow card, and it will cost the team. But now he's playing with wisdom. He's playing with flair, and because he's in a different role, he can't play a party role. I mean, we've seen it plenty of times, but now because he's advanced, like he's playing for Switzerland, he has a very different overview of what he needs to do. And look, don't take it away from him. You will go in at a challenge and you will try and do it as clean as possible, like he has done today. And I think him getting in the mind of the midfield of Newcastle today, it was just phenomenal to see how calm he was. Yes, he had maybe a point here and there, but he was one of the most foul players on the pitch today. He was fouled quite often today because of how they tried to wind him up, but he showed it in a different way by saying, "You can talk to me, but I will show you with the ball how we're going to close you and how we're gonna quiet you." So Xhaka, very important for Arsenal at this stage. And yes, we do need an upgrade. And yes, there was reports, I think, this week that Mikal is teaching Emil Smith Rowe the Xhaka role. And it would be interesting to see how he will deal with somebody like Smith Rowe or somebody like a Rice or even Vieira improving on their game to replace him. And he's going to be a big man about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, it's. I think I said this at the start of the season. I think probably Jack has got 2 years to then pass on, and he'll become that kind of squad player that will be that one that will come on and be the level head and just be just that kind of calming kind of like
The experienced guy,
experience player. Just come on, and again, you're looking at your Jorginho or whatever like that. Again, these are players that you probably need around. But obviously, midfield is going to be a massive kind of improvement this summer. Going into Champions League, obviously you're going to have potentially Rice if he comes in. There's going to be some big money spent in midfield, and this is what I'm saying. It's going to take a lot of kind of management regards to who plays where and when, and getting it all sorted. But look, that's a challenge for next season, isn't it? And we don't want to go into who's going to sign where and when because we know Arsenal are linked with.
The way you've got to look at the transfer.
What was it? How many players, Des? Before you go on, how many players are we linked with for every transfer window?
About 500.
Yeah, last season it was about 463.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
it was, that was it. That was my
I think
figure
I was
last year.
even at one point. I think I was even linked with them. So
Was you?
yeah.
What a Tom
For-
number 9,
for
Yeah.
goalkeeper.
Well, not the goalkeeper. I was just linked with them.
left back on the bench.
I was going to be Edu.
Right at the back.
Your left back right on the bench.
Cheers for that, Glenwyn. But what I was going to say, and I'm sure Richard could expand on this, right? But this transfer window, when we always say, "Oh, what positions do we need?" Right? Blah blah blah. Right? This transfer window, I think it's more of a case of we need to buy players in positions where levels aren't going to drop. So, for example, right, I'll give you a couple of examples. If we get Rice, and it's all ifs at the moment, you can't say we're going to.
Yeah.
If we get Rice, he's a replacement for either. I would say he's a replacement for Partey. Is he not? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
I think they're looking at a Xhaka. I think they're looking at him as,
Okay.
but he can play the party role as well. So it might be.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. We need players that have got the determination, the grit, the motivation, the mentality. But have you noticed since January, what I've noticed is we've bought players who can play in dual positions. For example, Trossard. Look how many positions Trossard can play. Yeah. Jorginho. You could actually put them anywhere across the midfield, but obviously he prefers to be more central. Do you know what I mean? The main thing we need to do this summer for me, and I've got to say, to bring it back to the game for today, was it Clement or Richard said that it was Xhaka and Saka who were fouled the most in the game today, right? But Saka needs someone who can give him either a challenge or he can be taken off more often. Because for me, since, let's see, possibly the West Ham game, Saka hasn't been the same. I don't think he's gone off the boil a bit lately, and I'm not blaming the kid. It's not his fault, but he's definitely gone off the boil. But for the future for our team, we need to buy players in the transfer window that are going to keep the levels where we have them or take them higher. And as I say, have mentality, all the qualities we need to be an Arsenal player.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what we talk about where we're trying to aim to get. Obviously, City have got 25, 26 players. Look, like they can field a team in any competition that is rotated, and not really have a huge drop off. And that again, that's apparent, isn't it? At the end of the day, you look at it, you can see it. I know, yeah. Look at the weekend, and it ended up being a bit kind of struggle. But they go from one competition to another, yeah. And this is where you get this Champions League thing, and you're suddenly thinking, well, you got Real Madrid, they're going to play another team here, they're going to play Leeds, whatever, and they'll play Everton in between, and you kind of almost, there's a different kind of team. You know what I mean? And it's all the same way. It's all similar kind of players. You got Rico Lewis, who comes in and he'll play and he'll do a job. And this is something that we're aiming to achieve. But unfortunately, we've got 15, 16 players that you could potentially say could come in and do a job. But, in all honesty, with that 15, 16, there probably will be a slight drop off.
Yeah.
So,
Look, there is also talks about Rafinha apparently that's coming, whether he's gonna come or not. That it's getting close. The fact that Reece Nelson has rejected the contract extension proposal means that they need to have another couple of wingers in there. And Marquinhos is not going to probably do it for Arsenal because he has not done anything for Norwich City. Balogun, I'm not sure if he's going to be sold. Charlie Patino apparently is also on his way out. So there's a lot of things that I thought, even Miguel Aziz that has trained with the team this week, a very good prospect to also come into that midfield. I mean, he's done well for the under-23 squad last season, and this season, obviously was at Middlesbrough, or where was he, at Wigan?
He's at Wigan, yeah.
He was at Wigan. He didn't have a good spell there because of quarrels with the manager and him.
Yeah, he didn't do well at Portsmouth last season. He started okay. He then fell out. He got lost a bit of form, and then they got a few more loanies in that area, and he struggled to get any more game time.
And that is the thing, Richard. I don't think a player like him should go on loan. I mean, they need to develop him right there at Arsenal, like they've done with Saka. Saka has never gone on loan.
My counter to that, Glenn, when is Saka is at a level and came in, he performed well, and then he kept on performing well.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where he's almost undroppable.
Yeah.
So the standard now for every academy player is Saka. If you want to get into this team, that's the level you've got to hit when you come in and play, and you've got to do it consistently.
Oh, fair point.
Unfortunately,
fair point.
And
I mean, I think there's a
games, you don't get that.
There's a huge player in Aziz. Aziz has got so much potential to become a Vieira type player. I mean, that is he's lengthy. He's nice and tall. Maybe got a bulk up here and there, but he's got that stride in order to get to that point. And it's just unfortunate that we obviously don't see the weaknesses in what the managers are seeing. But again, we need to obviously clear out the fringe players that is on loan, that's not happening. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is probably going to go out. Pepe is not coming back. Nuno Tavares is not sure what's going to
Suarez
happen
will
with
go.
Suarez,
Coutinho's will
Marius, Manta, is it Monza? Monza's made, I think, making offers according to Mari.
that was an obligation, and he hit
Yeah,
he hit that obligation to buy.
yeah. So because of his performance and Lokonga at Crystal Palace, he got a couple of game time under Vieira, but he's not doing anything now under Mr. Roy. So there's a lot of players like those guys that show potential but not good enough to come back to Arsenal. So they have to move on, and that is where we can sort of get the money back. I mean, I've seen. I think it was Emerson that said that we're probably going to just get 150 mil. So if that's the case, then we have to let the fringe players go to make up the balance of what we can. Because I mean, if we're gonna go for a Rice is, depending if they stay up or not, is gonna hit nothing less than 70. Uh, Moises Caicedo is gonna hit nothing less than 70 if we're gonna go in for him. There's a player, Spanish guy, I think Ubamendi, that I said on
Mendy, yeah.
Zubamendi, he's going to come in at nothing less than 30. So there's a lot of fringe players that we're going to have to get rid of in order to bulk up that 150 mil, because 150 mil for the players that we want is not enough. Not enough.
But you mentioned Balogun, right? The reason they're selling Balogun is because right now you could get 40, 50, 60 million for it.
No, we can, because it's English as well. So I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, even Reece Nelson, he can get us close to 30, 25, 30. I mean, his form this season alone has put up his price.
Well, there you go then. So if you look at those two players, if we've been given 150 million, and even if we just sold those two players, Balogun
And Reece Nelson, yeah, definitely.
Reece Nelson, I mean, you're talking that's another 70, maybe 80 million on top.
Yeah.
I don't think Reece Nelson is gonna go.
No, I don't think he will.
I think he will. The talk is that they're still in big negotiations.
Negotiations, yeah. But Paul, there is quite a few players. Oh, sorry, players. So quite a few teams that wants him, not just in England. So
No,
I mean, if obviously he's an Arsenal boy, he's authentic Arsenal. But you know what? If the player I mean, look at Willock. Willock has done well for himself. He's an Arsenal boy, but he's done that because he wants to play, and he's number one on that team sheet for Eddie Howe. And that Reece Nelson could do well at perhaps an Everton or a West Ham, even a, you know what I mean. So he can go well into a lower ranked team and play his heart out and be a first team player. I mean, he's still young. He can still go play for England if he has to.
No, of course.
And I know I don't want to let him go. I wouldn't want to let him go, or rather, because he is a very good asset for Arsenal.
If we had a player that was not wanted by any other team, then I would be questioning whether or not he'd be worthy of a place at Arsenal.
Pepe,
That's where I look at it, and look, I picture it like that, and I'd say, well, look, he's come in and he's had some good moments this season.
Yes.
And look, there's going to be teams that are going to be floating around, and they'll be offering them the chance to say, yeah, we'll make sure we get game time. And again, this is where we question. This is where we question about, again, where we as a club are going, because we talk about the players coming from Hale End, we talk about Patino, we talk about we're letting him go, or we're going to sell him, just like Balogun, and we're suddenly saying, if we let him go, it's another player that we've just let go for whatever. If we get value for those players, then that's totally different. But
correct.
we haven't got the value for those players. But again, I asked you before, Des, we're going a certain way as a club. We want to get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in there for sentiment at the moment.
No.
And so, we have to obviously address things as a club in the way we're going. And if we don't believe that these players at this time will take us to that level, we should get rid and make value to then go on and step up. Obviously,
I agree.
Patino
I
will never
agree.
come in next season and suddenly be a game changer.
Right, I agree with everything you've just said. Right, absolutely. We can't be sentimental about it. We cannot be. It's a business at the end of the day. It's to progress the team. Yeah, totally agree with what you've just said. But I will say this: we are, we're guilty of the other side of the coin as well, because sometimes we hold on to players for too long when we could have made more money off of them, by selling them. You know what I mean? So we're guilty of both of it. Paying too much or keeping them too long and not getting the right money for them when we sell them. Yeah, it's like for Declan Rice as an example, right? For Declan Rice, I would say you can have Lakonga and money. So you're not spending 70, 80 million on Declan Rice. It's money and a player. Because we're not going to take Lakonga. I don't think we're going to take Lakonga back. Right? I definitely don't think we're going to take Tavares back. Yeah? So Tavares will be offloaded in the summer, I would have thought. I mean, these are just my opinions. You guys may agree, may not agree. But I'm not saying that West Ham would take Lakonga, but I'd be going in and saying, look, there's a bit of money and Lakonga, what do you think of that? And then if they say no, then you go in with that. Yeah? Reece Nelson, I want Reece Nelson to stay, but if he goes, I'm very much of the thinking, if he goes, he goes. But I'm not against him staying. Do you know what I mean? Because he fits into what we're doing at the moment. And
he's fresh as well. And you don't. The way he plays is very fresh and it's very kind of open.
Yeah.
It's nice. You see the way he comes in and he starts playing, and he looks really, really good.
He can change a game when he comes on. Reece Nelson can change a game when he comes on,
And it's something different from, say, like a Saka. It's one of those where it's just something a little bit different. And look, as I say, we've been mismanaged for a few years with regards to players, and we've not taken value. Even when we were in our pomp, we didn't have the nous about us. We didn't have the David Dean that would literally be maybe Tottenham's Daniel Levy, but with a football brain. You know what I mean? He had a business acumen, but with a football brain, and that was the David Dean.
David Dean.
And he would go hell for leather to make sure we got value for certain players, and certainly wouldn't have stood in the way of having this kind of downfall what we've had over the last 15, 16, 17 years. So that's where we've become Arsenal as we are now, and this is why we're saying, again, this is the disconnect between fans.
Yeah,
where we think we're still where we should be, where we were invincibles. Yeah, we were challenging with Man United, but we let other teams go on for 15, 16, 17 years, take over us, and we've reaped what we've sowed. In the end of the day, we've lowered ourselves down, and that's not through being like with total blinkered eyes. That's where we are. We can't challenge where we were because we've fallen, because we didn't improve on our playing staff. That's where Tottenham are now, because when Tottenham moved to their brilliant stadium, their stadium that's got the longest bar in the world, the stadium that's got the longest blooming karting track underneath the ground. You know what I mean? A cheese cellar that never was built. You know what I mean? All these things that Tottenham had come out and said about this stadium being, it was so like self-sufficient. They got their own brewery. All this stuff that Tottenham had got. Oh, we'll never be like Arsenal. We'll never make those mistakes like they did. And we're now suddenly seeing Tottenham being kind of pretty similar to how Arsenal were when they moved to the stadium because they didn't improve correctly in their playing staff. And look, I can have a laugh because I said that straight away, and I was be careful what you keep going on about Arsenal because it's going to happen to you. And Tottenham seem to have done it themselves.
You reap what you sow.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry, I've gone on a tangent there about Tottenham, and I apologise. I apologise for swearing. I apologise for using the bad word. But
KFC.
yeah, sorry, yeah. So look, that's Tottenham, but no, that's fine. But look,
Yeah,
what?
what I wanted to say on the fringe players, I mean, if you look at, I mean, then Ange, not Ange, yeah, Ange just talked about Tavares. Tavares started well at Marseille, and he's died in the process due to a fallout with the manager there. And I think if players like that, I mean, we don't want those type of players when they sort of falling out with managers. We had it in the captain. I mean, Oba was one of those guys that, was hard headed. He didn't want to listen. He didn't this and that, didn't that. Tavares is a baller. He can become a good player, but I mean, he's got 6 goals there at Marseille now. I don't know
He's
what's
also
happened
had problems with a manager there as
with
well,
with
hasn't
the
he? So
manager. That is what I'm saying. So you can't have that at Arsenal if you don't want to submit to the authority of management. You have to move on. It's just one of those things because we don't need the rotten apples because our togetherness and the camaraderie in the camp is too pure now and too sacred for anybody to come and mess it up. And the players that is going to come in is going to have to submit to that. I mean, even some of the players came out with the Orba saga eventually and saying that he didn't want to listen. So we need our minds to be in unison when it comes to Arsenal. I mean, we've never seen this team so united for a long time, and it's been almost a decade that we haven't seen a cohesion with our team, and that's all due and big ups to the management, Arteta, and his staff that has changed that dynamics of our team. So the players that are going to come in, they're going to have to have that aspect and that qualities. And the two guys that came in January, Trossard and Jorginho. I mean, we heard that Trossard in his latter days at Brighton had fallout with the Zerbi, and soon thereafter he was on the transfer list. But you can see his attitude now, and in an Arsenal shirt, um, that there is a change there. I'm not sure what was the fallout at Brighton. I don't care as long as he submit and become to our culture. And every player coming in have to have that culture, or must at least adhere to that culture, because we can't have anybody that come and want to switch a different direction, because we have a direction, as you said, Paul. There is a direction that we are moving to, and every player have to have that. So yeah, we can't just take anybody. We have to be selective in who we take, irrespective of what quality that player has.
Yeah, I definitely, Glenn. As I say, it's all about like time frames and stages because we know we're probably 8, 9 players from where we need to get to, but that isn't going to come in one transfer window. We know we're going
Yeah,
to have to give players on, and realistically, it is going to be like almost 3 players every transfer window because you've got players coming in and out. So you're going to have players come in, you're going to have players going out of the squad, and to bring in say 9 players or whatever 8, 9 players will be unbelievable. And we talk about probably harmony within the group as well, which probably is the key as well because the last thing you want to do is suddenly go yeah, we're going to bring in 7, 8, 9 players. They're all going to be within their own kind of expectations of what time they need to be playing. How, as a manager, can you really kind of put that all in? Bearing in mind if they're new players to the team and you're trying to get it all kind of worked out and get them all playing the way they need to be playing. If one of those players or two of those players don't show it, then there's surely going to be some issues there as a manager, and you're suddenly thinking, well, you know what I mean? You're always going to have frustrated players. I get that, but again, changes of players coming in just going to make it a little bit awkward. Richard, what do you think about certainly going on to next season, because there is going to be some big changes, certainly midfield.
Yeah.
Managing.
I think probably this will be the last season of a big influx of players. 5 to 6. I think we need 6. And then it'll be just a couple every season after that, just to refresh it as players get old and you see new talents. But this season you need 6, and it's down to Arteta to manage the squad and get the best out of the squad he's given. Hopefully he's got the input and he says, this is what I want in this position, and what's it? I mean, Andrew said, Emerson has said about Cedric and Trusty in here. Now, Trusty, I think, as he's playing left back, if we got rid of, as he can play centre back or left back, it might be that we keep Trusty as an alternative to Zinchenko if Tierney goes, because that will be down to the player. And again with Patino, it was Patino wants to play regular games, and if he hasn't got those assurances, he's moving on, and which is fine. Every young player wants to play; he needs to play to improve. So, but this is where Edu and Arteta have to earn their money and get the best out of the team they got. Well, I think we spoke about it. The idea of an academy is to try and find future generational talent for the first team, and if you can't, to provide money so that you can go out and improve on the first team. And City do it fantastically well. Southampton used to do it really well.
Brighton is doing it now.
Yeah, and now we have to start getting wise. Chelsea, I mean, they stockpiled all the best players at a certain age group, and it's helped them keep their financial fair play stuff in order. And it's these things that we've got to learn to. We've got to have that business now and that acumen now to run the club in a decent way.
Well, the reason why Southampton used to do it so well was they had a wage cap. So, for example, a kid goes into Southampton, they say, all right, we want you. How much do you want? They always ask the player first how much they want. And they would say, just for argument's sake, £50,000 a week, right? Right, okay. Yeah, and then they used to turn around to the player and say, well, you go and ask your, back then, go and ask your Arsenal, go and ask your Man United, 3 or 4 teams, if they'll pay you £50,000 a week. And if you don't, come back to us because we'll pay you 25. That's how
they also had a very good youth team coach, Paul somebody, wasn't it?
Yeah. But that's what they used to, because I saw a documentary on it once when I used to live in Southampton. And that's what they used to do. Right, you go to these teams, say to them you want £50,000 a week, and when they turn you down, come back to us and we'll pay you 25. And that's how they used to do it.
Paul, before I go, I just want to mention something about the game that I forgot to say earlier on. I think one thing that Arteta showed today with his substitutions, the substitutions affect change in the game today. Again, Zinchenko gave a ball away a couple of times, and he made a change sooner than later that he normally does. And he brought on Tierney because he identified that their right winger, what's his name, Murphy. Murphy had Zinchenko in his bag, in his pocket. And I think big ups to Arteta in that regard, where you could see there's a change to be made because we need to maintain and manage our game, and that because he made that change, and Tierney is more of a defensive-minded player than Zinchenko. Zinchenko is more an inverted fullback-minded player because he's used to that, whereas Tierney is used to defending and not having space behind him. Whereas Zinchenko on the other side had that change. And I mean, Zinchenko obviously had a lot to do with Odegaard's goal first. So I can't blame him for anything else but the identification of Arteta, seeing that he's struggling with Murphy. And I thought big ups to him that made the change much quicker than he usually would have done. I thought he would have probably bring in a change by the end of the 69th, 70th minute, and he made it much earlier this time, and that kept us also in the game because Tierney also had a couple of deals won in this game today.
I will
So
say,
yeah, I
will say, Glenn, as well, that I think this is the first game in a long time that I've seen a decent performance from Tierney. It was a really good sort of 35, 40 minute
and that's
game from him, and it's the best I've seen from him in a long time.
Correct. So yeah, the changes were made in a decent time, and it was enough time to affect change because every player that he brought on thereafter knew what they had to do. They had to fight to the death and at least try to keep the clean sheet. Sorry, Des.
That's all right. I actually want to go back to the Chelsea game just for 1 minute because it showed how bad Chelsea are, right? When Odegaard scores the same goal twice in the exact same way. For me, one of the goals of the season is first strike. Absolutely unbelievable. It was nice to get a message off of Paul as well saying Chelsea get battered everywhere they go. Chelsea get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. And got a great singing team.
How nice in the stadium to have like 2 new songs. It's like Chelsea get battered everywhere they go, and you're going down, going down.
Well, they've only just got over 40 points, haven't they?
42, yeah.
They survived with 3 games left, you know.
Yeah.
Like Chelsea.
Lucky Chelsea season in a long time.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I do condone the laser pen in Mudrik's eyes. I think that was totally out.
That was disgusting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was totally out of order. And we don't need that. We don't need that in the modern game, mate.
And I would also question what the stewards are doing. They're checking bags and bits and pieces. Those sort of things are what they're there to pick up on before you get into the.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy to kind of get something in like that, though.
I suppose if it's on the key,
they can be so small as well. Yeah. It's one of those. It could be on a key ring. It could be on anything like that. And then someone says, "Oh, yeah, I've just got keys," and it's just it's a kind of standard kind of thing. But look, they dealt with it. The guy got arrested, and he's probably on a good ban now.
Yeah, and that's what needs to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no place for it, and yeah, they will deal with stuff as and when. They will say that there's enough technology in the grounds to make a conviction and get stuff sorted. So, look, it's one of those we talk about making the atmosphere better and stuff like that, pyrotechnics and everything like that. There's some stuff that I agree with. Talk about flares. I'm talking about little things like that. I think they can be used. I think they should be allowed into grounds.
As long as they're
obviously
not idiots.
Well, yeah, no, but again, make it used just in safe measures, and not people being idiots. And then as soon as they're doing, they're throwing them to someone else or somewhere else in the crowd, and that's
Yeah.
where you get the issues. And it's like, well, yeah, if you deal with it as adults, then
Sorry,
it's
Paul.
great.
I'm
No,
gonna
no
go.
worries,
Thanks again for
Great to see
having
you,
me.
Glenwyn.
no
I
worries,
just need to
Glenn.
prepare for our teachers and that.
No worries.
Cheers,
Hopefully,
everybody.
have a good shutdown.
No, definitely will do. Cheers, Ange. Cheers, Emerson, Richard, the
Great to
Forcer,
see you
Paul.
again,
Thanks
mate.
for having me, man.
No worries. We'll speak to you soon, Glenn.
Cheers,
Take care. See you later.
That's why a lot of grounds now as well, though, Paul. You're totally right. You're on about the flare throwing and all that. That's why a lot of the European grounds have the nets. So they can't. Yeah, they can hold them in the crowd and do their thing, but they can't throw them anywhere.
Well, they can. They throw them into the crowd, but again, there's idiots that will just literally just be launching. I had it at the Emirates where someone they'd had it, and they got collared. They had one in North Bank, and they threw it into the next block or a few rows up, and it was like, well, hang on a minute. Well, if that goes and hits someone in the face, you're in a little bit of bother. And look,
the Newcastle match today, guys, I've got to give credit to the fans as well, right? Because I'll tell you why. I don't know if you've ever been to Newcastle for a match, right? But the away fans for Newcastle, for some reason, you're not near the pitch. You're right up the top. They put you right up the top.
All the way up.
Yeah? And I think it's part of the psychological thing that Newcastle do to sort of like keep you away. You know what I mean? But I could hear them all game today, and it was amazing. I've got to say, fair play to the fans for that. Because
funny enough, that's something the Tottenham fan mentioned. It was like I said about. I thought that had kind of changed with regards to sticking away fans up in like upper tier. I thought they had to be kind of
still do it. I mean, if you go to Old Trafford, you've got the only reason you're not so close to the pitch is because they've got a disabled section. The disabled section is closer to the pitch, but Newcastle is one of the only grounds now where they put you in the upper tier.
It's not a bad tactic because you get less of that back, and you feel the players don't get in normal circumstances. It lessens the effect of of away support.
But genuinely, you can hear us today. You can hear the Arsenal fans today.
Yeah, you heard them today, but it's not a bad tactic to have. And I mean, one of the things that I want to pick up on was what Ramsdale said in his post-match conference. That actually, the last meeting before they left the hotel to come, Arteta showed the All or Nothing documentary of last season's Newcastle match, and the players' faces and the staff's faces after that match and everything.
I mean, the thing is, it's the game today as well. We actually had a VAR decision go our way as well.
Yeah, and that's what they're used for.
How rare are they?
Yeah, but this is where VAR works well. You don't expect the ref to see that in real time. That's an impossible.
No, we need to see the 57th replay to clarify that it didn't hit his hand.
But it's so close to the leg and arm, but you're not in real time at that speed. It's very hard to pick up, and it's only the fact that in that slow motion you see it hit his short leg, and you see his undershorts. You see his.
Did you also notice that Kivior's gone for the Xhaka haircut?
Yeah, I mean, I said I wanted to touch on Kivior from the Chelsea game and this game, and very much like Glenwyn.
Kivior,
yeah.
What a segue! What a segue I just did there for you, Richard.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, look, go on, Richard.
I thought when you look at the Chelsea game, the first ball was a bounce, got beaten in the air, and you thought this is going to be a long game. And then when he had a ball that was cleared to him, and he was no player near him, and he took a heavy touch, and you're thinking you're going to have to improve. And he slowly grew into that game, and he got better and better. And there was a corner came in from Chelsea, and he got his head to it, and it didn't go up in the air, and it didn't stay in the box. He cleared it about 30 yards out, and he was neat and tidy with his passes. He made a few sliding tackles and blocks that went his way. He got all his headers were down towards an Arsenal player, and he grew into that game. But today, he was outstanding. It was a game you probably worried about because of the atmosphere and and what Newcastle were going to do, but he came through that really well. And I think again, he did what Saliba did, passing through the lines, really crisp, really quick, really accurate, and given time and given the right coaching and chances, I think we've got a real star on our hands with him. And you're going to see him and Gabriel interchange, especially when you've got Champions League and then match. And he looks a real prospect.
Did you see as well, though, Gabriel looks a lot more comfortable today, but also I saw a couple of times Xhaka was pulling him to Kivior to one side and having a word, and Kivior was nodding as if understanding what he was saying. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I think he just felt that he had the support today. You know what I mean? And he did play a lot better. He absolutely did play a lot better. And I think
look, it comes down to confidence. It comes down to the game time and that exposure to playing in that atmosphere.
Yeah,
but then it also then comes down to the actual listening, the understanding of the game. And as I'm saying, you can receive criticism, you can receive kind of feedback from peers as you would in any kind of line of any line of work. Again, how you take it on, how you then improve, how you involve. And look, he will get better, and that is through just that kind of just the exposure to playing. So,
and the thing that helps him is he's got a little bit of pace as well, hasn't he? Which is what helps us rather than sort of having Rob Holding here. So, and I think there's been a knock-on effect onto Saka as well, because Ben White hasn't been overlapping and making those trademark runs because he's had Holding there, and he's had to be a little bit deeper and defend a bit more.
Welcome to the Premier League, Kivior. You know, that's
trial
by fire. You know.
Yeah. No. And today was you've got to say today's performance was much better than Chelsea's because of the opposition he was facing. You've got to remember it was 6-1 against Tottenham last week, and they did come and they had their chances, and so it was a real test of his defensive capabilities.
Shows where we are.
Oh, you could have picked 2 or 3 there today. I mean, you could have gone with Jorginho, who was immense in midfield. You could have gone with Odegaard because he got the first goal and he was thing. Ramsdale as well because he had some saves. And I think that one from Shah was world class because not only did he get a strong hand to it, he actually pushed it up over Shah's head back out. But for me, I think it had to be Jorginho. The way he dictated that game with a passing, and it was shown just after we scored our first goal. We went from about an 80% pass success
Yeah.
down to a 96% success pass rate, and that allowed us just to take the sting out of the game and control it for a little while. And
Odegaard for me, because I think for me the reason being he took hold of the game.
Yeah.
After about 7 minutes, he just took hold of the game, and I mean,
yeah, he's unlucky, isn't he? I mean,
Yeah.
on another day he's had a brace and a hat trick of assists.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, I mean, he's got into this habit now of shooting sooner rather than later, and they seem to be going in. So you know, I mean, he nutmegged. What was his name? Brochan. He nutmegged it, didn't it, on the first goal?
And you also with that goal, it's the way the shot was, isn't it? It's low, and it was through the players' legs, and it made it difficult for Pope to get there. And you've got to think, Newcastle's the meanest defence in the country, and
Yeah.
and you
He's
still
very
do
6'10", isn't he? Or something like that.
now. We're joint second in Golden Glove. Ramsdale is. De Gea's got 15. Pope, Allison, and Ramsdale have got 13 each. So.
And now Odegaard's on 16 goals, isn't he?
15 goals, 7 assists.
15 goals, 7 assists. Right. Okay.
Yeah, he puts him at top because Saka's got 13 goals, 11 assists, but because he's got more goals, he's top. But that's nearly 3 players on 15 goals this season. We just need Saka to get a couple more just to join that, which isn't bad, is it? And they're all youngsters.
There's a certain group calling me deluded, and we should get rid of, and people saying we should get rid of Odegaard. Well, wrong.
Who's that?
Huh?
Who's that?
Yeah,
if I mention, I'm being petty, aren't I?
No.
I mean, I think, yeah, I think what we got to remember is, and we had it with Ozil. Oh, they go missing in big games, but unfortunately, the team went missing in those big games because we didn't have a good enough team.
Exactly.
So you can't expect one player to make be the difference. Today, you saw the team stood up, so Odegaard shined. So, and if you look at a couple of the Martinelli chances and the Saka chances, slightly better shots and decisions with those shots, you're winning that game a lot more comfortable than you actually did.
Yeah. No, look.
I think both passes for the two where they were clean through, they were good. Okay, for the third one where he pushed Martinelli a bit wide, it was a bit late, but you're still creating chances there. But it's he's so good, and again, I like as the reason I liked Ozil is there's always one more pass. I can get another pass out, which makes the opposing team run an extra 5, 10, 15 yards.
Yeah. Well, look, I've always said with regards to Ozil, he's a great player. He hadn't lost his ability. I just think that the team as a group and as we were playing lost its kind of wholeness together. And there weren't a balance there, and he was picking up balls where he shouldn't be picking up balls, and you know what I mean. He should be playing further upfield to receive a pass rather than picking up balls, say on the on the outside of the area or inside the area, and then trying to dribble out and try and play. He should have been that next pass that will literally be picking up the ball to then divert out to our wide players or our striker.
I mean, I'll ask you, both of you. This season, out of all the games you've watched, How many times have you seen Newcastle opened up like that?
How many times have I seen Newcastle opened up? Not many.
Opened up like that? Yeah,
Not
Well,
many.
look.
Because they've had
I
14.
think City's the only team.
They've had 14 draws, mate. So, you know,
Yeah.
to add to what you're saying, not many.
Yeah.
You know, but to be honest, Paul, the midfield of today is almost as good, or maybe better. Up to you two to decide. As the Vieira midfield, you know, I mean that was the solid midfield, wasn't it? The Vieira midfield. So the early 2000s, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you had the great Henri up front, who you knew could bang them in the bag, yeah. So the thing is, what I've liked about this season is, on the whole, we've played lovely football. But did you also notice today what we didn't do in the first game against Newcastle? We were playing a lot more direct ball. You know, there was a lot more direct ball today, and that's what we were getting over the top of them.
Yeah.
And getting down the flanks. And that's how we, you know, and I think they tried to outmuscle us in the midfield, but they didn't quite. You know, and I said to my friends before the that have been winding up, going, we're going to beat you, we're going to beat you. I said, I tell you what this game will come down to, and it's absolute truth. Whoever takes control of the midfield, right, and whoever scores first, because whoever scores first, the floodgates could open. Because I'm going on the last few games for Newcastle, they've scored quite a few, apart from when they surprisingly got beat by Aston Villa 3-0, was it? Yeah, but they've been scoring quite a few goals. So I thought if they did score against, if that hadn't hit the post and gone in today from Murphy, was it Murphy?
Yeah.
It could have been a totally different game. But as luck has it, we did all right.
Yeah. I look at it and I say, yeah, obviously 29 goals that they've conceded. Only Liverpool beating them 2-0. So we've equalled what Liverpool did back maybe before the World Cup, was it? Or just before the World Cup?
It would have been. Yeah.
So that would be the only time they lost. Yeah, look, as any kind of team, you evolve over the season, and you're still learning. You're still learning ways of playing together. Again, every game is different. You're learning other little things to counter. You're always learning. It doesn't matter if you're a professional player to an under 9 player trying to learn the game. There's still things and characteristics that you're going to be still learning to kind of go on to the next game, or dealing with a certain kind of way of playing. And look, by you saying they go a bit more direct, again, that is still the learning side of things, and it's about belief. It could be about you saying, as Arteta saying, we need to do this, we need to do that, but it's also down to the players to then actually go and do that game plan or perfect that game plan, because the manager, as soon as he says that, it's in God's hand. It's in those players. The players have got to do that job, and as much as that manager can say, go and do this, go and do that, if the players aren't doing it, then there isn't a chance in hell that you're going to get the result what you think that you're going to get, because they're not doing what they need to do. And substitutions aren't going to help that. You know what I mean? One man's not going to suddenly just change the whole thing, or two men. But as I say, it is all down to a group kind of wide kind of thing. And this is why City are really good, because they can just go and do stuff because they have been around. They've been around year upon year, and they can do stuff. So, look, there's so much from this group now. I think we can all agree that it's going to improve further by being in the Champions League, and I'm massively excited to suddenly say, well, look, we don't know what this next 3 games.
No.
3 games?
Yeah,
3 games. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, we've guaranteed second place, guys.
No, not yet.
Guaranteed.
No,
Not
but
quite.
look,
No, 1 point.
The win
We need
today-
1
the
point.
win- Oh no, they were saying on my commentary, the win today guarantees second place.
Double check that.
all I've said is that, like, look, we've achieved what we wanted to achieve at the start of the season. We've got 5-6 games. We've achieved that.
Mhm.
Anything else is an absolute bonus that we should be enjoying to the max, and that means the players should just go out and enjoy it, play with smiles on their faces, and then.
Yeah.
And I think after that City game, I think now you're then suddenly seeing this now because there's
It
something
is now.
okay because we've now lost that kind of it is us, it's all down to us. Now we've lost that, and the impetus is on City. We're now Arsenal. We are kind of. It's not just us. It's not in our hands, but we've just got to do our best. I just think we are. You know what I mean? It's one of those. It's where we're just saying, well, let's just play with a smile. Let's go and do the job, and then what will be will be. And funny enough, if they slip up, we've got a massive smile on our face still, and then we'll go up and we'll lift that trophy in May. Well, a little bit later in the month, at the end of the month, about the 28th, isn't it?
Yeah, but you couldn't have said it any
Like that?
better, Paul.
Yeah.
You couldn't have said it any better. Still got hope. Still got belief. Yeah, all right. Results need to go our way, as we've said over the last couple of weeks. But I still believe.
Yeah.
Well, look, there was talk, Richard, before you say about there was hundreds of people going on about the delusional fan, and this is me and Des. I think this is what it kind of put out about fans that actually have some belief. And look, football is football, and I said this, Richard, on our preview. Anything can happen in any game, and Man City saw it against Leeds. As in control as they were in that game, they could potentially have dropped points. It could only have taken one kind of moment in that game, and then all of a sudden they've gone from controlling the game to having a penalty for 3-0 to then going 2-1. It could have happened, and it's not being deluded because it is a game of football. And yeah, we know that odds are stacked against other teams because that's where they are. But that's why football was so brilliant to us fans, because there is that jeopardy thing, because every team could beat anyone.
Risk and reward, mate.
Yeah, look, but
If we can take it down to the Forest and Wolves game, that's not bad, is it?
Look, the only thing we control is our own performances, and that comes with those next 3 games. Yeah, and it's look, Brighton at home. It's now Nottingham Forest away, and then finishing up with Wolves. And like I said, 5 wins. That puts the pressure massively on City, who have 3 away games in those 4 games they have. And look, at some point there is going to be a spot of bother for them. And look, if there's a moment in those games that doesn't go right for them, then they're going to struggle, just like we are. There's times, yeah, they are human as well. And look, they turned up massively against us, but then against other teams, they haven't done as well as they had done.
Earlier in this, wasn't it? They'd just taken top spot by drawing level with us, then went to Forest and got points at Forest. A game where they had plenty of chances to win and kill that game, and they ended up dropping points there. So anything's possible. You expect them now to go on and win the league, but they still got to do that in matches, and they can't go to Real Madrid, play and then go away to Everton and necessarily make wholesale changes now because the pressure's back on them to get the two back-to-back results.
Have they still got a game in hand?
Yeah,
They have now. Yeah. It's Brighton's their game in hand.
Yeah, Brighton is the one.
Yeah,
That's
Brighton-
the second
Brighton's going
last.
to be a cakewalk.
No,
Brighton's
Brighton and Brentford are probably their two hardest games. Everton will be tough for them going to Goodison, but
Look,
you'd
it's a
hope
loss and a draw. It's a loss and a draw that we need.
yeah, and that
Barring
two
in all our
two losses would be better, but yeah.
And the people that think I'm the personal people that think I'm delusional. 89 seasons.
Look,
Before we go on, yeah, this is now.
I won't go on about that season.
We are mathematically second, but that's only because United lost.
They've lost to West Ham, haven't they?
Yeah, if United had won, we would have needed one more point. So, but because United have won, we are now guaranteed second. So
United lost, mate. Sorry,
yeah, 1-0. They lost.
you said one. Oh, come on, let's get it right, Richard. Come on.
Richard, you actually, it's very rare, but you actually made a mistake.
You made a mistake there, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd say
That's
they
fine,
lost.
Richard.
We've got to take these moments, Richard. We've got to take these moments.
Pop now, Richard.
Yeah, well, I've got ahead of myself.
It's a pound in the pot now, Richard.
Yeah. And Newcastle, 13 goals at home conceded all season so far. I'll do the quick maths. It's easy enough. It's I think it's about 0.98 before I do it on the calculator.
Calculator?
Man City still got to play Newcastle.
0.81. So I wasn't far off.
Oh,
0.81 goals a game at home they concede.
I worked that on my can. I was just tallying it up. No, but no. Look, it's a massive result.
I think all the players stood out today, and Zinchenko, he had a slip and he had a few, but if you look at the way he allowed us also to control that middle of that park and get that extra body in there, and that's why I think you found Joel Linton and Guimaraes putting a few in on players because they were frustrated.
I just think they need to be a bit more savvy just in the way they kind of alternate around, and rather than just doing the same kind of setup, you've got Tierney coming in, you play the orthodox.
Well, I haven't thought Tierney's been that good up to, and today has probably been his best performance in that role. He's come in, he's slotted into that, and he was still playing inverted at times.
Did he play? Yes, so he carried on.
Yeah.
Yeah, look.
And that's the best I've seen him in that role. So maybe he's learning, he's got to grips with it, and he's learned how to do that a bit better. But today he stepped up and he had a fantastic 45.
Well, I agree with Glenwood because Glenwood talked a lot of sense tonight, right? Because he came on at the right time.
58. He
genuinely came on at the right time. Zinny looked a bit burnt out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we closed that side down, didn't we? Once Tierney came on, that side was defensively solid, and not much came down that side with Trippier and Murphy, and it went over to Sam Maximum on the right hand side.
Yeah, no, look, I honestly think with Zinchenko, I'm going to go onto the live chat in a minute, and look, I've neglected. I apologise, live chat. I apologise, and I think Zinny's just been caught up in the emotion, the whole real drive to kind of get one over Man City, and I think that kind of forward motion where he's really like he's obviously a heart on sleeve kind of player where he's really kind of driven. And you saw from that FA Cup game where the Man City players were teasing him and pulling him around, and it was like he's really kind of he wants to do it, and it's almost like he's a little bit too zealous to try and do it.
Yeah, he's emotionally involved.
Yeah, that's it.
Some over emotional sometimes.
And that's it, and that can also be a little kind of problem with regards to the team and concentration, because you're going into it and you start focusing on other things, and then you're all of a sudden your kind of head's not in the actual moment. So that's my thought of it. And yeah, look, Tierney's got to come in, he's got to do a job, and if Arteta wants him to play that role, he's got to go and do it, hasn't he? You know what I mean? We know qualities that he's got playing wider and going forward, but look, Arteta wants that inverted kind of moment, and if he can kind of dig in and he can kind of move up his game into that kind of role, then he's got a chance to stay at Arsenal. Yeah, it's not like it's a closed door. We need to sell him.
No.
It could be that he goes into pre-season and he actually bombs it, and he actually suddenly says, right, okay, I'm giving it a go, and he could potentially, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Earn his place into the instead of Zinchenko, and you're suddenly thinking, well, hang on a minute, look, why are we thinking of leaving? Again, you play yourself out of the team, and if Zinchenko is at fault for certain things, he will find himself out of the team. I don't think it's as closed door as what people kind of think it is.
No.
Paul, you could be right, but also if you think about it as well, you could put Zinni where Xhaka is and still have Tierney at the back.
You could, but again, I still question that physicality side, like we saw against Southampton.
Yeah.
And I still think, yeah, you may have him there, but again, I just think that physicality and the want to get on the ball, like what Xhaka possesses, is key to where we kind of move forward. Because, with that inverted kind of player, there is obviously that gap. And if we're not really quick to kind of push for the ball, then teams are going to have a field day on us. Because, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to have. And you're right, Des, about potentially he could go and move up. But I just look at just the whole kind of the grand scheme of things.
It's a dilemma, really, isn't it? It's a dilemma for us.
Look, this is why Arteta gets paid the money. It's, you know, I mean, we can sit here as fans, but then we don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know the levels, the fitness levels, and who's really struggling and
we
who's
can overanalyse it all we like, can't we? We can analyse it or overanalyse it all we like. At the end of the day, it's not us making, like you just said, it's not us making the decisions.
Well, look, we've got opinions, but again, we know nothing.
Yeah.
We know nothing about what the players are, and the players aren't coming on the on social media and saying, "Oh God, I've really got a bad leg. I can't run." They're not going to say that. They're not going to do this because that's it. It's all kept inside.
You keep everything in house, don't you?
Yeah, look, that's what it is. And look, if a player is ready to be played, then he'll be playing. But that's what it is. I'm going to go into the live chat now, lads, and it's probably a little bit late, but look, we like late surprises.
Better late than never.
Oh look, of course, Ange. I hope Ange is still in the room because she's put loads of stuff in. Ange, if you're still here, give us a wave. Stand up if you're in the room.
Stand up if you're in the room.
So evening chaps, what a win! That was before we went live. Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm going to sort that out. Get rid of the Tottenham fan.
Yeah, do that.
Come on. started going on about Tottenham. And maybe just a mute button for the word Tottenham. And I mute. Maybe we shouldn't mention Tottenham.
No, we can let him come on because he can suffer them.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered about them. Yeah, and said great play, passion, bit of fight. What more can you ask for? Exactly what it was. And like I said, Richard, I said I was dreading from like last season. I was like, oh god. Yeah, I mean, it was the Tottenham game as well. And it was that kind of feeling. I'm just like, you've got to dispel that kind of feeling in your head from last season.
You got to learn. They had to learn to deal with the intensity and the atmosphere, and they did. They stood up. They didn't wilt. They didn't. They showed maturity. They showed mentality, and they showed a fighting spirit. And
they've also got fans demanding so much from them as well. That adds to it, doesn't it? It's all part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, just brilliant. I loved it. Jorginho got Premier League player of the match, and yes, there is a player. Yeah, like we said. Look, I think he got man of the match against Chelsea, didn't he? So that's two.
No, Rudiger got the Chelsea one, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah.
No, he's like,
and he wasn't.
Was it the Arsenal player of the match that he got?
No, he got the player of the match because they said to him today, and when they talked to him and Jorginho, no, you can't have it today. You got to give it to Jorginho today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, look.
Because he ranked first in everything he did on the pitch today. Jorginho,
yeah,
so
I think Jorginho.
The flowers when they're due, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I could say in having the starting berth life for next game as well, Jorginho.
Yeah, well, Partey was out of form, isn't he? So,
we talk about out of form. I still honestly think there is
maybe an injury,
potential injury, and that's bordering on from that international break where they had the assessor going out there, the physio.
But he's still
went out there.
He still managed more games this season than he has in his others. He's past that magic 24.
He has done.
Yeah.
He has done, but look, I still don't think a half-fit Partey is good enough because look, you can notice a player that is fully fit and he is bobbing around, and then there's one that's a bit more pedestrian and probably like my nan. That's kind of just.
I've seen your nan. She plays better ball.
No, I shouldn't say my nan because unfortunately. I have no nan now. She's up there. She's enjoying. She's loving it. She's loving it up there. And,
I've used that before. I've seen my nan can play better than you, and she's in the grass.
I don't want to go there, but you can tell. You can tell that it's something a little bit awry, and look, there's lots of little things that have been going on with him through the season, and you don't know what. Again,
but they've managed it pretty well up to the point, haven't they?
Look, the mentality things of a player, especially when you've had the things that are potentially being fired at him, and look, it hasn't been made public, but look, I think everyone's got a.
I'll say one thing about Partey, right? He can't keep concentration for a whole game. That's my.
Well, there's always there's passionate players in there, and it's one of those where, yeah, it's dealing with it and being assured and being calm, and look, Jorginho is that difference, isn't he?
Yeah, he gets his foot on that ball and he just passes it, and he passes the opposition to death, doesn't he? And
he did. I mean, Jorginho did do a couple of loose passes, but he chased after him and got them back.
But no
Look,
player's
depends
going to
on
be 100% perfect in a game, are they?
Yeah, no, of course not. No.
if you're playing progressive passing, you're always going to be knocking balls to be picked up. But look, it's the risk and reward. It's the favourite. It's the favourite in the North Bank saying, isn't it? It's the risk and reward.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know. You know what I mean? It's like Ramsdale does it. The midfield will do it. It's it's one of those. It's the game changer. If it works, we get the goals. If it doesn't work, then yeah, we're either conceding or potentially not doing nothing. You know what I mean? Just it is what it is. I don't know, but Jorginho, yeah, look, he's come in and as I say, if he could provide momentum to get us through these next few games and provide that added ammunition, then great. Because yeah, I think it's what's been needed. And it's only just like another little thing. Like we talked about with Saka, just a little kind of injection where you could say take him off for 15 minutes and all of a sudden have an explosive kind of player on that right hand side just to suddenly let him go and have other teams thinking about something else. Because
I mean, if you look at it, what was it? It's possibly 12 million fee, and he came in just after Christmas for that game or two and was outstanding. And the last two games, 3 million. If that's not bad return on your money, is it?
no, definitely.
I possibly would have brought Trossard on a bit earlier today.
Possibly, yeah. But again, you sometimes you're stuck between: do I let the players out there carry on because they're up to pace with the game, or do I change it and risk giving Newcastle more momentum? And that's something Arteta's got to learn. He's got to learn to get a feel for the game.
It's game management though, isn't it?
He's getting better, yeah. And
no, but it's game management though, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're 1-0 up, and then potentially we obviously going 2-0 up. What is Arteta's main kind of focus? It's not potentially attacking players or that kind of area. It's still more that defensive unit, isn't it? Really, in all honesty, and I would say that kind of shoring up with Zinchenko and Tierney, that helped. But then, what was it? It was did Partey come on for? I only saw him come on afterwards.
Partey came on for Odegaard and Nelson came on for Saka and Nketiah came on, and then Eddie came on for Jesus. And that I think with that substitution, we actually dropped back a lot further and hardly got out of our half. And Eddie struggled to keep hold of we struggled to keep hold of the ball because there was no outlet. But and we put ourselves under probably more pressure than we needed to in that last 10 minutes. But again, they saw it out and they dug deep, but it's something for them to work on and improve. And it wasn't just a 60-minute performance this week or a 30-minute performance, was it?
No.
And hopefully that'll just give them the confidence to go out and blitz the last 3 games of the season.
No, 100%. No, look, let's hope they go on and they do it and they finish on a high, get to 90 points, and then that's it. What will be. You know, just going into it. Emerson, if he's still in the house, look, welcome Paul, Richard, Glenn, and Des Enforcer. Yeah, Glenn's got a power cut over or a shutdown in South Africa. So he had to depart. But yeah, look, welcome Emerson again, and yeah, I'd love to have you on the show I think it'll be really good
Yeah.
to have you on because, yeah, you have some good opinions as well. Good points from Des.
Come on,
On mine.
Emerson. Yes. Hey.
On Xhaka because Newcastle tried to rough us up and got away with it. Look, they're not the only team, are they?
No.
No, that's right.
The
I
only
did think Kavanagh had forgotten, left his cards at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Get Emerson on the show. He talks a lot of sense.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
try and
Especially if
we'll try and
he agrees with me, he's talking a lot of sense.
yes, not.
Get Angie on as well. I bet she.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely.
And I tell you now, Glenn
We will.
would have enjoyed it tonight, mate. He loves this stuff.
We like. Yeah, we're here to build. We're here to build. Xhaka kept his head because he could have lost it as they were trying to wind him up. Look, it wouldn't take much for Xhaka to have got sent off, in all honesty, over the last 3-4 years. You know what I mean? From a tackle that comes in and he doesn't really take any contact with a player, to it, a player going down and then a referee just suddenly pulling out. Look at Villa last year. Gets booked for 3 imaginary fouls. And it's like the referee's like pointing here, there, everywhere. Look, he has to be savvy and he's got to just now focus on what he's doing now because look, that will change the perspective. I think that's the only way.
And he was sensible, and he was calming it down at the end with Nketiah and Shah and that at the end.
Yeah. And said X-Man did well. Oh. I think Angie's saying X-Man gets a statue.
Yeah. Yeah. Very should.
Look,
a few more trophies and titles, and then any player that wins titles and trophies for Arsenal has to be considered a legend, surely.
No, we do it in jest, and look, I love Granit Xhaka as a player, and I loved him with his misdemeanors. And yeah, the incident against Crystal Palace, it was Crystal Palace, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm bad.
Yeah. Look, if you're captain Arsenal and you have that kind of thing, and look, I experienced it with Abue at the stadium, and I found that moment very awkward, where fans are booing their own, they're booing their own players, and I didn't like it one bit, and I didn't like the witch hunt on Granit Xhaka as well, because like I say,
yeah, I don't know if you two will agree, but I've been a lot more impressed with the fan base this season. But even if a player's had a bad moment or made mistakes, they've not actually been on their backs as much as in previous seasons.
Well, this has a massive part. Richard, you're right, because look, being in the stadium every year since the Emirates, when we moved into the Emirates, you know what I mean, I've been through absolute toxic. It's like I've been better conditions in a cesspit. Like literally, it was bad. There were times where it was not good, and I spoke openly. And I've said, well, going to games was like a byproduct of meeting up with my mates before the game and having a drink, and then the football would have been just a kind of passing. We'll just go there and endure it. That was the feeling back then. It was like Emery. You know what I mean? Towards the latter part of Wenger, not through Wenger. Again, that was just the different fractions of the fan base. And look, it wasn't Wenger's fault that we we mismanaged the club. Yeah, it wasn't that. But I could go into another show about that again. We could speak about that again and go back down in history because it wasn't all him, and that's the problem. And unfortunately, a lot of fans took it upon them to suddenly think, well, he was the easy target, and take down on him.
I look at it this way, Paul. Right? I look at it this way. Okay. Yes, he could have handled it better, right? But he had a worse team round him. Frustration was a big part of it. Okay. And who am I to be judge, jury, and executioner? The guy made a mistake. It's time to let it go. You know, it's in history. Let it go.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I say. And look, you can see by what he's done. He's rewritten kind of a lot of people's opinions. And yeah, look, it's amazing how a well field changes stuff because look, that has been the difference because there has been more balance. And you go back to the times with Ramsey and Xhaka in that middle, and you suddenly thought it was comical. It was laughable. One would go forward, and the other one would be still high up the pitch, and there'd be nowhere to defend the defence. So look,
I've got one more question about Xhaka for you. A couple games this season. Do you think he's gained a bit of pace? Because back again today, he's got back with that last tackle from pretty much out of nowhere, and there've been a couple of games this season where he's looked a yard faster than previous seasons. Possibly,
we could have a point, Richard, because if we go back to the time if he'd have done that tackle back then, Stonewall penalty. Yeah. Today he got that the perfect tackle. Yeah. They couldn't have. You could, as I say, couldn't have timed it any better. But back then, if it had been one of them tackles back then, it probably would have ended up being a penalty.
Yeah, it's not really a pace thing, is it?
Is it a fitness thing or?
I just think again, you get yourself in that position to kind of block, but you're not going directly into the player. I think potentially he may have gone direct to make contact with a player or go closer to the player, whereas if you're just playing just in front of the player and you're actually getting that block in, you're dealing with the problem, but you're not getting it anywhere near the player, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So rather than making the contact or going across someone, you're just kind of just making that block, and that's it. Whereas I think maybe he was a bit too it was too keen to maybe put physical pressure on those players, and hence why now we're seeing a bit more of a calmer one. I don't know. It's an interesting one.
I agree with you there as well, though, Paul. In just being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and as I say, my Tottenham mate hated me pointing that out. By the way, he hated it. He absolutely hated it. But look, well done, Granit. Keep going. So yeah, so I'm well pleased. Emerson, talk about our transfer budget is about 150 million. Do you all think it is enough?
Well, we don't know what it is. There are rumours. I've heard rumours of 100 million, but to be honest, the club aren't going to let that known. There'll be a few false things put out there just to put people off the track, so they're not paying over the odds for players. But you think they were willing to spend 80 odd million on Mudryk. They were willing to spend 70 million on. So there's at least 150 million they had this winter.
Yeah, but you've like we've covered before, so we're not spending too much time on it, right? But like what we said before, you've got players that will be outgoing that will bring in.
Yeah.
Balogun's going to bring in a hefty price.
I'm expecting the budget to be around about 250 to 300, depending on player sales.
Well, that's the going rate at the moment, isn't it? Unless you're Chelsea and you want to go and spend 600 million. You know what I mean? That seems 300 million seems to be the going rate, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what or how we go. Obviously, Champions League changes it. It's massive, but we don't know. Look, if West Ham go down, what will they charge for potentially Declan Rice?
I think they're safe now, mate. After beating Man U, I think they're safe.
Oh well, yeah, they potentially will be then. Yeah,
I think they are.
But look, they'll be trying to get as much money as they can for him. And look, it only takes another silly club to come in with a silly offer, and Declan Rice is an Arsenal player.
Yeah,
that's the grand scheme of things, and it's all well saying we want this player, we want that player, but again,
well, Mudryk is the case in point, isn't it?
Yeah, look, that's it, and it probably is down to the player, and again, a bit of a nous for the player rather than taking the money, and it'll be more testament on the player, I think, because rather than going for the money, if he goes for the project or he'll go for the place that potentially is probably going to be better for him, I mean, as opposed to taking that money, then so be it.
Yeah.
But Mudryk kind of seemed to kind of just go with the flow. Whether or not he actually had much choice in the matter of just...
I don't think he had much choice. It was down...
I think his agent took control of that one.
Pushed it, and then that's it.
We just didn't... We just weren't willing to put up enough... enough up front. We matched Chelsea, but we didn't match the up front offer. So there was more money up front, which and the Ukraine. You can't blame the Ukrainian side because they needed money. Well, at the end of the day, they were hit really hard by UEFA allowing all their foreign players to leave, and they didn't get reimbursed for that. So that's a lot of money they've lost. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can't blame.
But they're in the war at the moment. They're not even playing, are they? They're in a war, aren't they? So.
They're all playing. I think they're playing. Neutral venues, and they also like.
Yeah, they're still all neutral venues, but again, I can understand why you don't risk national foreign players in that situation, but there should have been a reimbursement for a compensation for them from UEFA.
Chelsea also gave Shakhtar a deal that if they want to buy him back, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, we at the end of the day, players will come to us if they want to, if the deal is right, and you've got this is the thing. It's the same with Rice. If the financial deal is right and we put the money that West Ham want on the table, we'll get him. If not, we won't, and we move on to what our next targets are. Yeah. But what we can't do is dilly and dally. We need to do what we did last season. Get the majority of our business done before pre-season.
Identify early. If it doesn't work out, then we move on to next targets, and that's going to be done.
Time chasing someone, you know.
Because we need that pre-season. We need the pre-season early. We need everyone there, and that's key.
Well, we proved that. We proved that with Jesus, didn't we? Jesus was finished.
Yeah.
We needed him.
Yeah. Well, we got most of our big ones. We got in pre-season, didn't we? We got Vieira in, and even though he was injured, we got Zinni in. We got Jesus in.
They weren't our first targets, though, so they don't count.
No, but we got them in quick enough.
I'm joking, Richard. That's I mean. That,
So they're not
was
our
the other
first
thing.
targets.
It
They
is-
were our only
None
targets.
of our like first like targets were bought. So we bought like kind of second
Yeah.
our second choices, and
And they didn't turn
they
out
didn't
bad,
turn
did
out
they?
too bad. So I think that dispels the myth that second
Yeah,
choice.
we wanted Haaland, but
Yeah, couldn't get him.
we haven't got any ugly players, so we just wanted to make up.
Yeah. So Aziz is still with Wigan. So
Yeah.
just
I think-
bear with us a minute.
That's all right, mate.
Yeah, I mean we're not too bad off, and if we can get our targets in, it's
Yeah, but it's like what I said on the Glenwyn show on Friday, Richard. I don't get my hopes up about anything until they've signed on the dotted line and they're holding the T-shirt on the pitch. You know what I mean?
well, I always look to Ornstein, and the other guy now is Romano. He's pretty reliable now, but Ornstein and him, especially Ornstein for us. If Ornstein says then it's not almost guaranteed to be done, and then you just wait for the club to think, because as Ornstein said, the Saka deal's agreed. It's just the confirmation on it.
Yeah.
And with Saliba, they're waiting until pre-season to be. There's no rush. They're not rushed on it.
No, I get it.
So
He's
but-
coming back. Oh no, he's gone again. We've been going for nearly over. Well, no, we have been going over 2 hours, haven't we?
2 hours, yeah.
So. Oh,
And
move.
all right, Paul. Yeah, and the other thing as well is the. I mean, just for us, we've gone from the sixth best team in the league away from home to the best team in the league away from home.
Yeah. Well,
We only
sorry, go on.
we only had 9 wins away from home last season, and that's our 12th this season.
Paul, we've been going over 2 hours, mate. I'm going to have to go in a minute. Do you want to switch your mic on? Switch your mic on, mate. You're muted. No. All right. Earth the ball.
Mine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, now we can.
Oh, that's good. I've had to dip out. The little one's come in and he's a little bit upset, so he's tired. So I've had to dip out to another room. But look, lads, 2 hours and 12 minutes.
I know we've overdone it.
Monstrous.
Been a good.
It's monstrous.
Yeah.
So look, it's been really good talking with you guys and Glenn
Yeah.
about today.
I've
So
enjoyed it.
look.
Brilliant.
Aye, it's been good, and I think we'll finish it here, and
Finish on the
some
high.
really good
Thanks
stuff.
to the people in chat.
Hey, we're going live straight to the chat next week.
Yeah.
We're going
all right.
straight. So, hey, thank you very much, Des,
Welcome,
Richard,
mate.
Glenwyn.
No problem.
So,
Thank you.
I hope your shutdown's been all right. But look, 3 points for the Arsenal, and 3 games left.
Could
Oh,
be better
dear.
placed than the- well, we could have been. Well, we could have been in the league, but in the league.
Oh,
Sorry, but
could have.
we are where we are, and there's still a
We are where we are. Exactly. So yeah, up the Arsenal.
Out the
Watching the North Bank. I'm the Bray, and these legends. Yeah, get following on Twitter and all sorts. Des is everywhere. Everywhere he goes. And
yeah.
He's
Everywhere.
Legend.
he goes.
But we'll, what day are we on next? What's the next game?
Sunday
It is Sunday,
for us.
so
We play after City play Everton.
we'll do a preview show for that, and that's the Brighton game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to be certain. So yeah, so I think that is it. So yeah, I'm signing off. I'm gonna go and see the little child who's a little bit having tantrums, and hey, we're gonna enjoy this moment and just suddenly say, right, on to you, C. Good luck, and we're on your tail. So come on, you Gunners.
We are now the shark.
Do-do, 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 do-do.